What are the coolest psychology tricks that you know or have used?
If you work with clients, prevent them from getting defensive and angry by not using the word you. It's not, you didn't send the attachment, it's the attachment didn't send. Don't blame them, blame the thing you're talking about. I take my time when I write emails to clients because I like to word things just right. One word can be the difference between a happy client and an unhappy one. The right words in the right order can influence people to make decisions you want them to make. Words are powerful.
This is really useful in sales. I used to sell car warranties and a big thing was using we instead of you to get on the customer's page. You need to protect your vehicle so you don't end up paying large repair bills out of pocket. Sounds like you're telling the person what to do and selling on fear. We should keep warranties on our vehicles so we don't end up getting stuck paying high repair bills when they inevitably break down. You know what I mean? Gets them to agree, getting them into yes mode, and sounds relatable and truthful rather than like you're selling them.
Best one for kids, and this works wonders for behavioral problems. You never say, don't do X. I had a terror child in daycare and people would yell at him for acting out. I would start each day by saying, you're going to be a good boy today, and every time he acted out I would say, wait, you're my good boy right? He would say yes and stop doing it. When his mom came to get him I made a point of telling her how good he was. That child never acted out around me after a week.
My people are very fertile, so I've looked after lots of cousins, siblings, etc. since I was 5. The one thing that kids want is control. What I mean is they're so helpless that they can't even turn in the light switches themselves, get a glass of water themselves, make their own meals. And they're very aware of this and immensely frustrated. The best way to harness this is to treat them as people with agency. Make them help you cook. Get their help cleaning. Get them to look after younger relatives. It seriously has never failed me.
Adding onto this, I work with kids a lot. Instead of giving them a yay or nay, you can give them different options. Like, instead of saying, do you want broccoli? You go, do you want 2 or 4 pieces of broccoli? It works wonders.
Do you want 2 pieces of broccoli or 4? None. Listen here, you little shit.
If someone is talking or preoccupied, you can hold out your hand and they'll give you whatever they're holding. I did it to my sister with the car keys and made her think she lost them somewhere at the store.
I like to do the opposite. If I've been tasked with holding something I don't want to hold, I wait until someone is engaged in conversation, and just hand them the item without saying a word. They just take it like that.
You want someone you just met to like you? Ask them open-ended questions about themselves. Don't wait for your turn to speak. Listen, and then ask a follow-up question based on what they said. If you do that a couple of times, that person feels heard and appreciated by you. If they realize they're doing all the talking, they'll apologize and ask a question of you. If your answer is short and pivots back into something they said, you have now formed a connection in their mind as a good listener who is interested in what they have to say. People like that a lot.
I do that with new people, and it works great. However, I also add on if they never realize they're doing all the talking, or don't bother to ever reciprocate asking anything about me, I probably lose interest in getting to know them anymore.
The concept of getting something for free completely derails a person's critical thinking skills. My dad was tool distributor and drove a truck to various repair shops selling tools to mechanics. He got an idea to start selling candy bars on his truck for $1. But you would get a free candy bar with every tool purchase. Almost everyone who asked how much the candy bar was didn't want to pay $1 for one, but they would buy a $100 socket set in order to get the candy bar for free.
I used the grey rock method on my narcissist brother-in-law. Basically, I made myself so dull and boring and the opposite of drama that he learned to avoid me at all costs. It worked like a charm, and only took 4 to 5 encounters to take effect.
Have a toddler that is in a bad mood? Sit down with them, look them straight in the eye, and say, you're mad, so don't laugh, just keep repeating it as seriously as you can. I've done it for 15 different cousins over a couple of decades, and by the 5th repetition of don't laugh, they are busting a gut and rolling on the floor.
Haven't you a toddler that is in a bad mood? Sit down with them, look them straight in the eye, and say, you're mad, so don't laugh, just keep repeating it as seriously as you can. My kids hate this. Even with my daughter being 9. If she wants to do something, and I say no, and she gets upset, she may scowl or something, and I'll say, well, I can see that you're mad. I sure hope you don't start laughing, because then you'd break that amazing mad face you have. I know it's tough to not laugh, but I know you can do it. Just don't think about laughing, and you'll be fine. Then she breaks into a smile, laughs, realizes she laughed, frowns again and then says, stop it daddy, I'm mad. I say, I know, that's why I don't want you to laugh. In an argument, speak softly. It forces active listening, which leads to active thinking. When they are listening and thinking, they are not yelling, arguing, or talking.
The flinch. Whether you're negotiating a raise, the sale price of a car you want to buy, who does what chores around the house, always flinch visibly at the first and sometimes second offers. The flinch can be as simple as a small wince, a sigh, or an eye roll. The flinch quite often causes people to lowball the initial offer. I learned this from my husband and it freaking works. Got my current job at 10% over the max salary because I flinched.
Just got a new job. They didn't want to meet face-to-face to negotiate the salary and told me about the benefits over the phone. Now I'm a woman, and fairly young. But I decided I was going to negotiate for it because hell, why not? Down with stereotypes. She made me her offer. And I just went, oh, in a disappointed voice. And stopped talking. Technique number 2. She went on to babble a bit. Next day got an offer with a 10% salary increase. Bam, flinch plus silence. That shit works. It's an old trick of interrogators, inspectors, auditors and the like to ask a question and then remain silent but maintain eye contact after the initial response. It makes people uncomfortable and they will start to talk again and overanswer, giving away more information than they need to or should.
If you want to calm someone down, sympathize with them whilst describing what's upsetting them in descending orders of magnitude. I understand why you're angry. You're right to be frustrated. This would annoy me too. As they accept the acknowledgements they want, they should also accept the declining emphasis on emotion and become calmer.
I had a very strange encounter with a coworker once. We were on a break, had chatted a bit, the usual mundane, are you married, etc., do you have kids, and when I said no, she waited, staring at me, for me to continue. Boy did that ever work, the longer she stared the more I babbled, I couldn't stop talking. I'd finish a sentence, she kept staring and I'd start talking again and not because she was politely listening. She was compelling me to talk. I have no idea why she did that, if it was just her way or if she does that to learn things about people, but it was the creepiest conversation I have ever had. I'm older now so that wouldn't work on me, but it sure was effective at the time.
Yep. I do this, but without the staring and any malicious intent. I'm just not much of a talker. People will tell you the strangest and most personal things when they babble.
People will tell you the strangest and most personal things when they babble. This drives me mental though. I'm perfectly fine with just silence in the lull of a conversation. Some people feel it necessary to fill in all the empty air space.
Does this count? They aren't cool, but pretty helpful. I sometimes have anxiety brain where I start to panic about the future or the past or whatever. I've learned to stop myself, and tell myself, hey, wait, you need to finish your job. Your job is .xxx. So, for instance, I'll be doing dishes, get lost in thought, and start to get upset and anxious. I'll then tell myself, hey, you have to finish doing the dishes, that's your job right now, and then I'll take a deep breath, or multiple deep breaths. It's just another way to center yourself and bring yourself back to the present, but it's helpful. Hard to do it at first, but I've gotten good at it. Also, sometimes anxiety brain can lead to some heavy, self-loathing, probably false thoughts. I've more recently taught myself that when that happens to stop, take a breath, and say one nice thing about myself. So when bad brain goes into, what the fuck Tammy Tangerine, you're the worst, I can't believe you fucked up that insignificant thing, I'll try and stop myself and say something like, fuck that, no, I am kind. That's a harder trick for sure, but I'm getting better at it. Edit, this blew up a bit, huh? I just spent the last hour on Reddit's mobile app trying to respond to a ton of the comments I've gotten. And welp, apparently none of my upvotes or comments registered since last night when I was on desktop. Great sad face. Anyway, thanks for all the feedback and input. I'm glad this tip is helpful to so many people. You guys are great.
And the similar one I've learned is called Name 5 Things. You just name 5 things you can see. Then name 5 things you can hear. Then name 5 things that you feel touching your body, purse strap, scratchy seat fabric, etc. But the end of it, but you have brought your mind out of that helpless spiral and back to reality. It has actually helped me avoid a panic attack before.
Many people, I would say most, maybe almost all, are surprisingly susceptible to flattery and being told what they want to hear. People tend to shy away from this strategy, thinking it will be too obvious and clumsy, but just try it. It's as if being flattered or hearing people agree with you gives people a rush of pleasurable hormones to the brain.
Wow, that is an incredible observation, definitely one of the best I've seen in this thread. Do you use this often? I can imagine you being very successful in situations where you're new.
I never do this, I have the social instincts of a sea slug. But I have seen it done over and over with great success, and know that I have had to condition myself to be less susceptible to it.
You're doing a great job of working on not being so susceptible to it. Keep up the hard work.
My sea slug brain is beginning to get this.
When something funny happens and people or a person in a group laughs, they will look at the person they like or care about in the group the most to see if they're laughing too. When you notice this, it's quite easy to tell who likes who.
Fair warning though that sometimes people default to looking towards authority figures, same concept, want to impress, rather than well-liked friends.
To get someone to like you more, ask them to do a favor for you, like let you borrow a pencil. Benjamin Franklin was a big proponent of this idea.
Don't fall for it. He still hasn't returned my pencil.
If I want my cat to jump up for cuddles, I first have to act totally disinterested and like I don't care what he does. Works every time.
My cat knows who butters her bread. I just lock eyes with her and say her name and she runs over. It's amazing what kibble, a little tuna and regular brushings can get an animal to do.
We have a cat named Little Bit, and my grandma always says, "Is Little Bit feeling cuddly?" And no matter where he is in the house, we hear meow, and he comes and jumps in her lap and goes to sleep.
When you need someone to wait a moment as you hunt for something, or you're struggling, say, "Thank you for your patience," instead of, "Sorry for the wait." It subtly strokes their ego and makes them more likely to be kind and patient with you, because you've already asserted they're kind and patient people, and denying that would hurt their own self-image. Works with most people, but some are just raging assholes, lol.
Do that with everything. Stop apologizing unless you've actually hurt someone. Thank people for their time rather than apologize for wasting it. Say you appreciate them letting you vent rather than apologizing for making them listen to you. If you're apologizing all the time, they might start to think that they are indeed a victim of sorts that needs to be apologized to. Thanking them and letting them know they're appreciated has the opposite effect.
People become what you call them. You treat someone like a monster, they become a monster. To ensure that someone maintains a certain positive trait, compliment them for it beforehand. People are more likely to follow you if they have your approval, rather than trying to win it. You don't know far people will go when they already have something to lose, a good impression they have on you. If you want someone to work hard for you, tell them how you admire their work ethic, or how they seem like diligent employees based on their portfolio, resume, recommendations. If you want someone to be nice to your friends, tell them they have a kind face. Don't say this to a guy if you're a guy, or say that you heard a lot of good things about them. Words are immensely powerful. This is also why I never call someone any bad names, even if they deserve it.
My dad always told me I was shy when I was younger, and that made me more shy.
Yeah, as a previously quiet guy, the first hated being pointed out as the quiet guy. It just reinforces the behavior. I've since been treated normally by good friends and now can truly be myself.
If you have trouble motivating yourself to do something like learn a skill, instrument, language, etc., tell yourself, "Okay, I'll sit down and do this for just 5 minutes." A lot of the time you'll end up going for much longer than 5 minutes, but even if you don't, it's still 5 minutes of practice in whatever the heck you wanted to learn in the first place.
If someone won't stop talking or let you get a word in, drop something, keys, pen. Reach down to pick them up and start talking. It's a way to interrupt without the other person realizing it.
The primacy effect, you're more likely to remember the first item on a list, and the recency effect, you're more likely to remember the last item on a list. If I'm listing groceries for my husband, I make the most important items into bookends. If I'm talking to the parent of one of my students about their kid's behavior, I always list good, bad, good. They get the information about the bad, but what they remember about the conversation is how they felt good and saw that I care about their kid.